Okay, you notice first we have optimize indirect lighting on the plants. And this is option currently disabled because we enable ignore indirect lighting. So let's go back and we uncheck ignore it. So when we go inside, you'll notice right here now we have this option available for us. And this is using a very fast optimization. However, this is very not very, but it's inaccurate how it's displayed. So if you're doing render when you close up on a plants, again, as example, macro rendering, like very close to the plants or other things, you want to be sure this is options is unchecked. In this case, it takes a little bit longer, but the lighting will calculate it accurate with the plants and it'll look more realistic. Next up, we enable custom settings. It's allowed us to fine-tune indirect lighting in our scenery. So with our samples, we can adjust how many illumination samples was processed in evaluating on each point of the scenery. Again, the higher, the better is the quality, the longer time to render. Okay, the next one, also the adaptive sampling by default is enabled. And this allowed us tuning on the quality and specific harmonic distance quality, which allowed us change as on all of them from faster to better calculation. And it's allowed us to calculate the distance to object in a image. So it's calculating distance of harmonic, the alignment quality, it's alignment of the object that producing, continuity quality, which allowed us orientation in different lighting samplings in the space, and contrast quality allowed us to calculate contrast between different sources of the light. So it is not just one single, it's between them calculating. And again, it's all going with a sampling, how many of them taking and how many calculated between of them. The better, the more sampling occurred, the faster or less sampling, less quality. So if you want higher quality, again, distance, this will have an intensity of the indirect lighting. Alignment mostly will, and continuity will work mostly with the shadow positioning. Think about which way is shadow aligned, or continuity, which way the light will bounce directions. And again, contrast, it's between object which stronger or less. So again, this is amount of the bucket. You can try experiment to see which one will give you best effect. However, a couple things: if you increase harmonic quality, this is probably will be better effect than other ones, and also as a contrast give you more interesting effect between different coloring going. So you can adjust these settings I found. So next we have it generating, and this has allowed us to lighting symbols, how it's distributed in a space. And we have two ones. We have the reduced pulsations, which is work on the low frequency pulsations, and this mostly will use it for animations and not that useful in still animations. And we also have it standard, which is used a little bit better statistical distributions of the sampling, but again and it's kind of slightly maybe an indirect, but it is mostly for the still images versus as the flickering or pulsational low frequency in leaf. So it is apply how the indirect lighting will apply with the plants. Okay, our bucket size, it's allowed at least one sample from the bucket. The smaller bucket size, the better quality. But of course, now we like 4 times more need process information versus before. So again, that's quality versus speed. The show samples, actually, it's nice when you want to evaluate. And in some cases, if you enable and will render, you will notice red dots on our image where we see where the samples was taking. This is probably a better way to experiment and see how this harmonic quality, contrast quality, or other ones, or even reduced pulsation will work when you start rendering. So for example, we have 2 plants, and indirect lighting, and we'll show samples we can render, and you can see where does Vue will optimize and reading for the accuracy for indirect lighting. Okay, of course, if you need render for the output, you want to disable this. Volumetric quality, it's overall adjust the quality of volumetric for the global render. Again, you can go in individual volumetric light on everything and increase as you need it. But overall, here is the global. You can increase better quality or less. So it will remove some grains from the volumetric lights as you render. Okay, so Photon maps. Well, let's look on the radiosity Photon maps options. And this is radiosity when you have an object and light bouncing. So you can calculate how many photons can be used, how many times they will bounce it inside calculation, what is a decay on the end from each move, and also you can customize on the gathering. So it's how many gathering happen and maximum gathering radius. So it's meaning after 20 meters that radiosity won't be affected, so it will be cut off on a point of 20 meters. So if you're creating, for example, a large building and you want the effect more than 20 meters from this building, you can increase distance. In some cases, you can see as example, if you put it two walls, and wall will be on 20 meter away from another, and it will be red color. So renderosity of this won't be affected other wall because it will be out of the maximum gathering radius. In most cases, it won't be affected, but however, say if you have a large building and you want building blue and want somewhat cast on the ground, be sure your maximum gathering radius is applied to this. As well, you have a maximum photon gathering level. You can increase maybe higher, so it will bounce it more times, will create it, but be sure in this case we'll set our decay level different, so it will be applied properly to the level. And you can also increase overall, this will increase accuracy on radiosity, how it will work between object. You can again use it custom or use it specifically, let Vue to decide on the quality on this. So the next we also have a custom Gastic photon map option, and you can see it's very similar to what we have to radiosity, only this will apply to the Gastic. In some cases, if you want to achieve better effect with any Gastic effect, you want increase amount of the photon levels as well as the gathering, and maybe even how many photons will produce in casting from this. So in some cases, increasing will produce better quality, but again, as any other options, when you enable that, will significantly increase the render time if you increase distance and how many photon ray tracing, how many times it's need bounced between the objects.